Are cryptocurrencies a bubble? If so, when will the bubble finally pop? Are we about to see a complete collapse of the cryptocurrency market? These are all valid questions, and almost everyone, whether you are a hardcore crypto nerd or just a regular person, has asked them at some point. The answer to all these questions is that, in actuality, no one in the entire world knows for sure what will happen with cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. However, by looking at hard statistics, relevant history, and current socioeconomic and geopolitical trends, we can formulate our own opinion on whether or not this will all be a huge flop or a cryptolution. First, it is very important to consider both the hype cycle and technological adoption cycle for emerging technologies. These cycles are a concept that can be applied to almost any new technology. They begin with the innovation trigger, which is when a new technology is first invented. At this stage, the technology is almost completely under the radar. The people who decide to invest or take part in the new technology at this stage are called innovators because they choose to invest into something that has only just begun with absolutely no guarantees of success or returns. Innovators also stand to gain the most if the technology progresses towards mainstream adoption. The next stage of the hype cycle would be the peak of inflated expectations. This is where the mania and hype around a technology reach its peak. Hype and craze are extremely contagious. While it is good to spread awareness in order to facilitate the adoption rate, it is also dangerous in that too much hype can severely hamper it. The third stage of the hype and technological adoption cycles is what is called the slope of disillusionment. This is where you would see unsustainable growth correct itself, sometimes very radically. This has occurred several times in history, and is sometimes necessary in order for a technology to progress into mainstream adoption. After the slope of disillusionment comes the slope of enlightenment. This is where momentum picks back up, and more reasonable and sustainable growth is held. The people who decide to get into the tech at this point are the so-called early majority. These are typically people who were unaware or skeptical at first, or perhaps someone who understood these cycles and waited to invest. Eventually, once an innovation stabilizes and then realizes a majority of its gains, the plateau of productivity is reached. This is where the technology has finally been applied to most of its potential uses. The technology still continues to grow, albeit at an even slower rate, because at this stage the technology is no longer new and has fulfilled its unique role in the global economy. It is important to note that when I refer to cryptocurrencies, I mean all of them in existence. At the time of making this video, there are 1,422 different cryptos, all of which potentially have different purposes and applications. There is a trend among the general population to categorize all cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies into just Bitcoin. However, this is completely missing the point. There is a meteoric rise of using Bitcoin as a buzzword in popular media, but this takes the focus away from other cryptocurrencies and their respective blockchain technologies. So, if we look at the hype cycle chart, we can see that blockchain technology is just about to hit the peak of inflated expectation. Some would argue that we have already passed that stage when Bitcoin went from 20,000 to 13,000 in December of 2017. However, I'd like to defer this point because, again, Bitcoin is just one of a vast array of completely different cryptos. Additionally, as of January 12, 2018, Bitcoin only dominates 32.9% of the total market cap. This is actually a good thing because people took the gains they made from Bitcoin and divested it into newer, more advanced and utilitarian cryptos like Ether, Neo, or Monero. If the world wishes to see cryptos and blockchain reach mainstream adoption, diversification of the market cap is crucial. Another important concept to consider is the historical adoption rate of past technologies. As we can see on this graph, as time goes on, the slopes of adoption have become increasingly steeper. This reflects the exponential rate of technological innovation that is a byproduct of civilization progressing the way it has considering our history. Both World War I and World War II basically gave adrenaline shots to new technologies through both necessity in wartime and unprecedented economic gains. As time passes, new technologies will become mainstream a lot faster than in the past because one technology can facilitate the next. An example of this would be the internet. Right now, you're watching a video online talking about a new technology, blockchain. If the internet were never invented, this wouldn't be possible. So by the internet becoming mainstream in the past 20 or so years, it has helped foster current innovations. Okay, so at this point you might be thinking, so what? Those graphs could possibly not apply to blockchain and all I've seen is Bitcoin go down. While these graphs are just conceptual, of course not everything can be perfectly fit onto a linear progression. So let's take a look at some market data. As we can see, as of today, there is more than $700 billion invested into cryptos. Only a third of that is in Bitcoin. Just 4 months ago, in September of 2017, the market cap was only $130 billion. That means that in just 120 days, the total market cap of all cryptos more than quadrupled. Just a quick reminder, nothing in this video is financial advice, but in my opinion and experience, $700 billion does not simply disappear overnight. Even after Bitcoin had its so-called bubble pop, the total market cap continued and still continues to increase. This goes way back to my previous point that the value in all this isn't just in Bitcoin itself, but rather in the many groundbreaking blockchain technologies that have emerged in the last couple of years. Some of these cryptos weren't designed to function as a currency, instead as a blockchain to interchange data between corporations or to provide a more advanced and secure system of record-keeping for important documents. The applications of blockchain are virtually endless. Almost everything that uses communication in some form today can potentially be implemented onto a blockchain and then improved. In conclusion, blockchain technology isn't a bubble. It's a revolutionary feat of engineering and computing. The people who categorize blockchain as a bubble are very often the same people who think that Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency that exists. The general public is looking at graphs like these that show past historical bubbles, with Bitcoin being the next one. However, I would say to those who are still unconvinced to perhaps consider additional graphs and their relevant histories. And that'll be all for today's video. I hope that the content discussed was relatively easy to digest and that you possibly learned something. What do you guys think of all this? Do you agree or disagree with me? If so, comment your thoughts down below, like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for future content on all things crypto. Until next time.